Welcome to What Lies Ahead. I'm your host, Chris Ruffini, lead singer of the Long Island band Overthrow. On my podcast, I explore everything related to the hardcore scene through the eyes of artists, promoters, and record labels. As always, please like or subscribe on all social media platforms. Joining me today is Jayway, vocalist for Bayway and guitarist for Shattered Realm. Since forming, Bayway has not only been an intricate force in the New Jersey hardcore scene, but worldwide as well. Their new record, The Recipe Volume 1 on Trustkill Records, is one of the strongest releases to come out this year. As mentioned, he also plays guitar for Shattered Realm, who dropped an EP last December. We'll talk about the new album, the process behind it, his studio, label, and everything else. Jay, thanks for coming on, man. How's it going?
It's fucking going great, man. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the shit out of your time, and I can't wait to get into the recipe with you.
Same here, man. And there's a lot to unpack. Like we were talking a little bit before we started here. You have yourself, you're involved in every aspect of music. And that's why it's great to have you on here, and you fit perfectly. Not only the bands that you're in kill, but you hit so many different aspects that you could provide a lot of insight for. So, which we'll definitely talk about. So psyched to have you on here. You guys have Bayway specifically. You know, this is going to be out by mid-September. You guys are going to be doing a run with Madball. Then you got a run with Biohazard. You guys got a pretty packed year coming up, which is well deserved, and it's going to be great for you guys. But let's start from the beginning, actually, with you. So let's talk your history a little bit. What led you to hardcore? First show, and then how it built up from there.
Hardcore for me, I don't want to say it happened by accident, but you know, I had a pretty rough upbringing. Saw a lot of things as a little kid that most people probably never see in their life. And you know, I moved in with my grandparents. Went back to Elizabeth after my parents kind of split up, and you know, my sister, my older sister, she was, you know, kind of getting into harder music or whatever. And she was trying to show it to me. And I really didn't give a fuck for it. I just wanted to listen to hip hop and be left alone. I love playing basketball. I love listening to hip hop. That was like all I liked to do when I was a kid. So she kept trying to put me on, never worked. We wound up moving, and I met a couple of kids that were like, I guess more on the metal side, you know, and they were like, they didn't fit in. And I didn't fit in where I lived, and they were like, "Don't hang out with those kids. They're Satan worshipers." And I was like, "That's cool. Let me check that out." And then, you know, the next thing I knew, I was sort of getting into some of the heavier stuff. My uncle gave me a guitar. I was about 12, 13. I started learning. Actually, I learned a bunch of Ozzy stuff. R.I.P. to Ozzy. You know, I learned a bunch of that stuff. And then, you know, maybe right after that, I was like, I'm a writer. You know, it didn't take long. I was like, I could play Crazy Train. I could write a fucking song. So I started fucking around writing. I didn't really know what I was writing. I wouldn't have called it hardcore. I didn't really know what hardcore was yet. I was just kind of writing stuff that was like kind of heavy, kind of bouncy, had like a rhythmic, how do you make a guitar sound like a drum kind of feel to it. And we wound up going into a studio. As I walked into the studio, you know, Agents of Man was in one of the rooms, NJ Bloodline was in another, and E-Town was in the other room. I didn't even know what I was getting into, bro. Like I would love to tell you like this is like some Cinderella story. Like I walked my way in and I was trying desperately to get involved with these guys. I really wasn't. I walked into room A, where Agents of Man was, and that was when I first like, you know, got an idea of who they even fucking were. I didn't know nothing about them or nothing about the bands they were in, or I just thought they sounded cool. They had like a hip hop flavor to them. You know what I mean? Puda was like this really badass like singer who just kind of like didn't give a fuck. And then I wound up meeting Reek from NJ Bloodline. And when I met him, everything changed. He made me go to my first hardcore show, and he kept forcing me into it. You know, you got to be at the show. You got to be there. You got to go. It's around the corner from the studio. Don't fuck up. You got to go. I was like 13, you know, and I went, and, you know, Pat, who's in Fit for an Autopsy now, he was in Shattered Realm for a while. Nothing Left to Mourn, a bunch of notable bands. He, you know, he threw me in a garbage can. I think I was maybe 15 seconds into the show. So as I got out of the garbage can, I said to my boy Pete Colucci, I gotta get the fuck out of here. This is insane. You know, and he's like, look, you're going to make us look like a bunch of bitches. You got to fucking stay. And so I did. And, you know, I learned really quick what to do, what not to do, but I found my place in a community, and I found friendship and family like I hadn't really experienced before. And that's what kept me coming back. You know, that's what really
Yeah.
kept me coming back. But at
Yeah.
that show, I saw Shattered Realm for the first time. Now I'm in the band, so it's kind of been a very, very cool full circle experience for me. I've been a fan of that band since I was 13 years old. So now to be in it is, you know, it's really a dream come true in many respects.
That's super cool. So when you were right, you were young, right? So what venue was it? Do you remember where you were at?
This was at Kenilworth VFW Hall. The
Okay.
headliner that night was a band called Full Effect, which was actually in E-Town. It was E-Town that was the cover band, but they couldn't play because they had a show at Birch Hill. So they put themselves under an assumed name, which was Full Effect, and they wound up headlining the show. So my first show ever, my first show out in hardcore, I'm seeing Shattered Realm, I'm seeing Agents of Man, I'm seeing NJ Bloodline, I'm seeing E-Town Concrete. So you can imagine after that, really nothing else really fucking compared. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was hard to recreate that lightning in a bottle moment.
It's an amazing show, right? Like as you're saying it. And so it's obviously
Unbelievable.
after that, it's almost you're meeting people, it's every weekend. Question, you were talking about the guitar. When you were learning how to play guitar, was it more of you just picked it up, you figured it out yourself? It was more like you were listening to it, like hearing the music, and then you're playing Crazy Train, and you're figuring out
I
other
started
songs.
I started playing drums.
Mhm.
So for me, I was very good, like talented with understanding drumming. I was always like hitting on the desk, hitting on the table as a kid. You know, and I understood like rhythmic patterns, and I was like very good with my memory in terms of like hip hop and stuff. Like I could really mimic what people were able to do, and I really just loved the rhythm of it. So when I picked up a guitar, my uncle taught me how to play a few songs, and I liked it. But when I came to writing my own songs, I never really cared about the notes, or I really just cared about rhythmically what I could do with a guitar, how I could how I could lock in with a bass drum and sort of create hip hop with a guitar. That was
Yeah.
always what intrigued me. It's always what I liked. I probably should have been a bass player, but instead I played guitar, and it's just the way it went, you know. So breakdowns like something like Shattered Realm, where everything was like sort of like very heavy and very
Mhm.
like very bouncy, was like really caught my eye because it was just like it was everything I thought a band should sound like. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so that was what it was for me. It was all rhythmic stuff. I never learned how to read sheet music. Still can't read it to this day. If you tell me, "Hey, I'm playing an A chord," I'll tell you to go fuck yourself. I don't know what that means. You know what I'm saying? And that's it. I'm very musically ignorant, I guess, in terms of theory and shit like that. But it's always sort of been a strength for me because I think out of the box. I don't find myself in this music theory. Well, that note doesn't fit with that note. It's like I don't give a shit. It sounds good.
Then you could hear it within the different bands, though, your different influence. And it's funny, you're talking about the hip hop stuff. You hear all that blend in, specifically with Bayway, like obviously with what you're doing, and you keep that hard
Sure.
edge, which is amazing. So you started early, and I wanted to roll into because Bayway is formed, and it almost feels like you guys have been around longer than you have been because it took off. It's taken off, and it's still going. I don't even think you guys haven't even landed yet where you are. It's which is like we discussed before. You got all these big tours coming up leading into the year. So just imagine fast forward a year from now where you guys will be at. It took off real fast. So did you have any bands prior? And then what led to the formation of Bayway, which I'm going to say, and correct me, man, if I'm wrong, is it like 2020, 2021, give or take? Or is it a little early?
2022
2022.
is the first instance of Bayway.
Okay.
I had played in various death metal bands, probably from I guess 20. I want to say 2013 till about 2019. I had toured in bands and stuff like that. Previous to that, I was in a band called Years Spent Cold, which um, you know was tearing ass through the East Coast for a long time. Probably, I think I was in that band for maybe 2 or 3 years, um, and that was in like early 2000s. Previous to that, I was in a band called Comatose, which was my first band that I was in for a number of years, and we played with a lot of bigger bands, man. I mean, we played with Sworn Enemy, God Forbid, E Town, From Autumn to Ashes, Unearth, Shattered Realm, Nora. I mean, you name it, we played with them. You know, we were running the New Jersey circuit as kids. You know, I mean, I even played with Fall Out Boy at Skate and Surf. I played with a lot of bigger bands. So you know, I've been in this stuff a really long time. That band started when I was 13. But with Bayway, you
That's
know, we came
crazy to think
out of
about that, right?
I know. And
My son's 15, and and he's ready to start a band, and I'm just envisioning him saying he's playing with these kind of similar bands. Sorry to interrupt, but that's like super
no,
cool.
no, not at all. It really is nuts. And like I told you earlier, like when we were talking before this, like I love doing these things because like I don't even think about this shit as it's occurring, and it's like to think that like I don't even look at Bayway as a fast rising thing, right? Because I'm just kind of in it. So like I don't even look at the rise. That doesn't even occur to me. I'm just playing the shows and trying to have as much fun as possible. So it's like it's awesome to see other people's perspective of what's going on. You know what I'm saying? As you're like sort of in this thing, and it's awesome to kind of take an outside look at it. But yeah, Bailey started coming out of COVID, and
Yeah.
like I just wanted to have fun, man. I didn't want to be in another band that was like, oh, we're trying to sound like this, we're trying to sound like that. I was like, fuck all that, Like I just want to do if the songs that we write make me feel like when I was a kid and I first got into hardcore, then it's a good song. And if it doesn't, then we don't care and we got to scrap it. We move on to the next thing, And Bayway had written, well, not Bayway, but a version of Bayway had written a demo that nobody will ever hear. There's 5 songs out there that are technically Bayway material that no one will ever hear that had nothing to do with how Bayway sounded, but we were searching for it, And then I moved into vocals. I said to the guys, "Hey, I'm going to try a rap song. Maybe I'll rap over this one." I said, "Make way, motherfucker" was Bayway. It was the first song I ever demoed for the band. And I kind of said to my buddy Chris, who was our original guitar player, I said, "Hey, I can't really say Bayway, motherfucker. Like, I can't really do a rap part, can I?" And he's like, "I think you can, and I think maybe you should do it more." And then, the rest is sort of history with Bayway.
Right. So it's like you started. Was there ever the goal? Because you guys are never, like we worked this out, like right in between. You're ready to take off again, West Coast, and you got the other stuff coming up. Was the goal? Was it just to put something out at that time, or was the goal like, yeah, I want to tour with this. I want to see where we can go with this. Or it was like just so new putting it together that wasn't even in your mindset at that point.
Oddly enough, the goal with this was never to tour. Actually, oddly enough, I never thought it would get big. I never thought it would take off. I thought it was going to be fun. I thought it was a cool joke that would make my friends laugh. And like, I just wanted to play music with my friends. Like our drummer, Dave, we hadn't played music in a number of years. So he was coming back from that. So when he joined the band, me and Chris hadn't played with him in maybe 10 years, maybe 15 years. So it was really just all about like, hey, like let's get back together. Let's write some music. Let's have as much fun as possible. We'll play a couple shows. We'll see what the fuck happens, And then like record labels started to reach out. And then it was like, what the fuck is going on?
Mm-hmm.
And then we made like one shirt and it turned into the next design. And then it turned into people were buying it online. And I'm like, what? I had never experienced anything like it because I've been in bands for so long. And, some of the bands people cared about, but never like this. Never like this.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like timing. I mean, you guys were obviously really good as well. And you guys did put in the work. I mean, you still are. But at that point to get to that, and it just kind of snowballed into where we are today.
It certainly isn't an overnight sensation. It's definitely been 25 years in the making. But at the end of the day, like, it was really cool to sort of like come out of nowhere and like really, we knew when we put the sound together how we wanted it to sound. And I think when we dropped it on everybody was like, what the fuck is this? It sounded like a pro band. It appeared to be a pro band. And, we did have experience, a ton of experience, and that's what we had on our side. So we were able to sort of present it in a way that I think, takes a long time to figure out.
Yeah. So as we're saying, it just moved, right? You started dropping some EPs, you put an album out. But I guess let's talk. I always love hearing the writing process of a band. And you're probably right in the middle of it because you could play every instrument. You're the vocalist. So what was it like? Let's talk about for the Recipe Volume 1. Let's talk about the record that just dropped here. So what was it like for that? Would come in with riffs? Did you have a hook in mind that you were thinking of, and then maybe put it over the music? Or you're the kind of person, I need the music for me to feel like what I want to speak about and write lyrically?
So two of the songs, me and Dave, the drummer, had gotten together. I told him, I said, hey, I want to take you out for your birthday, man. We'll go out for steak dinner or something. And he calls me, he goes, I'd rather jam. You want to jam instead? I said, sure. So we got together, we wrote two songs that night. That wound up being Eulogy and They Never Learn. We just kind of wrote them off the cuff, but the version that you hear on the record is the version we wrote that night. I mean, we wrote them maybe in like 2 hours. You know, we just kind of were jamming on stuff and it just happened. Chris, the guitar player, had brought 3 songs to the table for the record, and those were Poverty Mindset, World of Suffering 2, and why am I forgetting the other one? And Watch Your Mouth. So he had those songs that he had written sort of, he writes a lot of his stuff. Like, it's hard for us to get together because we're always kind of writing and we're always kind of on the run, touring. So a couple of the Poverty Mindset, he wrote a bunch of the stuff on his own. And then World of Suffering, he came in with the idea of like, he had he had the acoustic riff, and then he had some of the leeway sounding stuff. And then we sort of like, he brings stuff to me and then I arrange it for him. And then, so what happened with the recipe was, oddly enough, prior to us getting signed to Trustkill, I was working on a hip hop EP, and I released one of the songs, and I had about 7 songs that I had written and done, that no one, maybe people will hear them now, I don't know, but a lot of the lyrics for the recipe, Watch Your Mouth, Eulogy, Streets is Talking, Wounds Like Mine, those are all songs like that I had written to hip hop beats. So I had wrote the record lyrically.
You can hear that too.
5 of the songs I wrote lyrically before the record even existed. 2 hip hop songs, you know, and they changed, but not all that much. So it's kind of cool and interesting. Me and Josh Trustkill are actually talking about putting out the hip hop version so people can hear that, which I think will be really cool because, you know, you see like part of the creative process. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, sure.
Maybe the recipe volume 2, if you will. But, you know, that for a later date, you might see that in September. It might come out right after this comes out. But yeah, so I had written the songs lyrically, a couple of the songs, but then what happened is Josh signed us and he said, you know, I really want to do a full length. And at the time we had 3 songs from Chris. We had 2 songs from me, and we were at 5 songs and we needed 10.
Right. That was like the magic number, I guess, right? You were like,
right, 10 is the magic number. And Chris, his wife was pregnant at the time. We couldn't get together to jam really. So me and Dave kind of got together and we wrote the recipe in about 3 sessions.
Wow.
So the record was written in about 3 sessions. Yeah, we put it all together. So Wounds Like Mine was interesting because it was a hip hop song that I had recorded to a click, and then I took the click and I put the vocals in, and then I wrote the guitars, and Dave wrote the drums to the vocals. So if you can think about that in terms of a writing process, really ass backwards. My vocals were the starting point for the song. So it was kind of a really cool experimental way for us to write a song. We'd never done anything like that before. Yeah. You know, and then we just got together and we just started writing these songs, you know, and some of them, Lazy Eye was a song I had written years ago. And then Dave put his own flavor to it. But yeah, it was me and Dave getting in there and really putting together 7 tracks and then refining these songs that Chris had came to the table with, and you know, and making this full length come out of nowhere sort of in less than a month's time for Josh.
Did you feel any, because you're having fun with this, so I think I might even know the answer, but did you feel any level of pressure that, okay, we have to write a few more songs? Was there like a timeline where Trustkill wanted you in the studio, or you were like, okay, we'll give us this few weeks and then we'll get it done, kind of thing?
I never felt pressure from Josh or from Trustkill, ever. And I think I'm my own worst enemy because I put more pressure on myself than anybody ever could. I never felt pressure from the label to deliver. I never felt pressure from whether people were going to like it or not. I didn't feel that pressure. I felt pressure from myself because I knew the timeline that I wanted to deliver this record. I knew Hellfest was coming, and I knew I wanted to deliver this record for Hellfest. And I knew if I got the record to Josh by a certain time, that he'd be able to put it into press and we'd be able to have it for July 4th.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, what a fantastic idea to have a CD release show or a release show centered around Hellfest, centered around New Jersey hardcore, centered around my community, all these things that I've been working towards for 3 years. And I really, really wanted that. So that pressure came from me, never from anybody else.
Yeah. How did you connect with Trustkill? Obviously, you meet, people, but how did it come about? It sounds like it moved pretty quick for this record.
Josh started coming out to our shows a while back, and I didn't have any relationship with Josh previous to this. I knew that he was probably one of the most important curators of heavy music for, the better part of the 2000s. I was familiar with his work. That's for fucking sure. Throwdown's Haymaker came out, changed my fucking life.
Yeah.
So, I was very familiar with who he was, and I started to see him at our shows, and I was kind of like, holy shit, is that Josh Trustkill? And then it was like, first it was like, oh, that's Josh Trustkill. It's cool that he's here. And then it was like, is that Josh Trustkill on the stage? And it's like, does Josh Trustkill know the words? And then it just sort of became a thing where me and him started to talk a little bit more, and I think he recognized me as a part of the community, and I recognized him as such an important part of New Jersey hardcore and its legacy. And we started to have conversations about what it would look like, and he told me he was interested in bringing Trustkill back. And I told him that, if that was real and he really wanted to do that, that I would, be interested in bringing Bayway over there. And, I think it was a bit of an experiment. I think other bands may not have done it because they're unaware of what he could do or what Trustkill looks like in the future, or, this, that, and the third. But I never felt that from Josh. I felt like I wanted to have a record label, and I tell this to everybody, I wanted to have a record label where I could go out for Mozzarella Sticks and I could tell him, hey, listen, I want this to go this way, and he could make it happen for me on a moment's notice. And he's been that guy, very consistently. So that's sort of how it happened. He every time I turned around, Josh was there.
He was there. Yeah.
And we got more and more friendly. And the next thing you know, he was expressing interest in Bayway. And he actually signed Bayway at an E-Town Concrete show, which is hilarious.
A lot of stuff coming full circle, right?
A lot of full circle moments, man. And that's for me, I'm big into I have a witch company. It's called Witch Baby Soap. And I'm very into astrological stuff. I'm very into the universe and the meanings behind stuff. I'm very spiritual. And I do believe everything happens for a reason. So these full circle moments, they're not lost on me, not lost on me. So it was big. It was a big moment, and it was really cool to be able to connect with a guy who had done so many cool things in hardcore and in metalcore, especially.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect match, actually. I think it's great. It makes sense with you guys on there and how you dropped the album that date. Hellfest couldn't be any cooler than that. You said something. So, and I'm thinking too, we talked about it. So you're super creative, right? So you got your hands in a lot of different things.
Sure.
And so you have your hip hop stuff, and then you're doing stuff for Bayway and Shattered Realm. Like, when do you compartmentalize that stuff? And then maybe you start writing something. You're like, yeah, I think this would be more for Shattered Realm. Or you're doing your hip hop stuff, and you're like, yeah, this can fit with Bayway here. So yeah, does it just happen organically, or do you all right, I'm writing for Shatter, because we're going to talk about that, because I know it could be something coming from you guys soon. So, you're sitting or when you're focusing on that one particular band, that you're just really all focused in on, okay, this is this lane right now, and I'll stay this way.
So for me, you know, a lot of people say things like, oh, writer's block or whatever, right? I don't believe that writer's block is actually a thing. So I think that when you're having trouble writing, I think that you're not supposed to be writing. I think you're supposed to be
Good point.
sponging, right? So, like, if I go into the studio and I'm not feeling inspired to write, I will go and I will seek out new music. Now, I might be looking for new music and I might say, man, I want the heaviest fucking band I can find, right? But in looking for the heaviest band I can find, maybe my guitar player Tito walks in and goes, yo, you got to listen to this hip hop record I just heard. And then the next thing you know, I'm not inspired to write heavy music at all. I don't give a fuck about it. Now I want to do a rap record. You know what I mean? And so I don't allow myself to get put in the box on that kind of stuff. Whatever I'm inspired to do, I basically take whatever my inspiration is in that moment and I wring out the fucking water in that washcloth until it's dry. I run that fucking well until it's dry. So with Shattered Realm, I had written a bunch of songs, and what is now going to become the Shattered Realm full length. You heard a couple of the songs on the EP. I wrote a ton of songs that I approached Joe with when I first joined the band. And I have about 10. So at that time, I was just, you know what it was? I went through back like a love affair of the band, and I just started listening to the band again. And I said to myself, you know, what would it be like if they wrote another Broken Tie Spoken Lies? What would that have been like? If I was in the band at that time and I was writing the follow-up record to that, what would I have done? What would my approach have been? And it really, what it was like a you know how people have like 5 sentences that are like a writing thing, you know what I mean? Like a cue, and then you write from there or whatever. That's what it was for me. I wanted to write Bayway material, but I was uninspired at the time. So I started to think about bands that I loved, landed on Shattered Realm, and said, what would I have done? And, you know, I wrote these songs and they were so close to what the product that I loved was that I knew that I needed to approach Joe with it. And shout out to Greg, who now manages Bayway, Greg Mongloids, or Greg Hold My Own, however you know. And, you know, he told me, he's like, I was like, yeah, I wrote a Shattered Realm CD. He's like, did you tell Joe? And I'm like, fuck no, I didn't tell Joe. Why the fuck would I tell him? What are you talking about? And he's like, you should tell him. And I'm like, all right. So I just messaged him and I was like, what's up? I got new Shattered Realm material if you want to hear it. And he was like, what? Like, it probably came out of fucking nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, we didn't really talk prior to that. Like, I knew him and shit, but it wasn't like, you know, I didn't approach him like, yo, brother, what's going on, man? Long time no talk. It wasn't like that. It was like, I'll be in Philly on Saturday if you want to hear new Shattered Realm material. You know what I'm saying? It was very weird, very funny. But like, when I'm writing, that's what it is. I'm inspired to write, and when I get those moments of inspiration, I take advantage of it. I won't write 3 songs and be like, fuck yeah, dude, I'm done. I'll write as many songs as I can until I can't write songs anymore, or what I'm writing I think sucks.
Right. Now,
and then I'll have it in the well.
Now, sometimes that could probably happen out of nowhere. Like, so hypothetically speaking, you're out West Coast, right? In a little bit, is it something that you feel it's kind of like, oh, wow, like I have this idea, like you have to immediately, and you'll just start doing it right wherever you are, right? You'll just, so that thought.
I will, when it comes to riffs and things like that. So say like during a sound check, I write a riff that I like. That will immediately get launched into my cell phone. If I have lyrics that come into oftentimes I write, when I write lyrics, I don't write full lyrics. I write 3 sentences and then I put a big space in between it. And then I write some more stuff and then I write some more stuff and then I fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
But it usually is like, you know, if I get a feeling, I kind of do it that way. But it's difficult to, as you're asking me like a compartmentalized question, I'm jumping all over the place, right? So like I'm very bad at compartmentalizing. So what I do is I sit in front of the computer, I press record, and I just write riffs. You know what I'm saying? I just go and go and go and go and go. And I shit out whatever I shit out, and then I turn the fucking computer off. I don't listen back. I don't care. I don't do any of that. Because if you do that, then you start to judge it. Maybe you delete it. Maybe, you know what I mean? And I don't believe in any of that. So I just go and I let my brain just go. I get my download for the moment. Whatever hits me, I commit it to recording, and then I move on. If I write a riff and I'm not available to record, I put it in the phone. You know what I'm saying? If something hits me while I'm in the car, I fucking hum it into the phone. I got so many hummed riffs into the phone where it's just my goatee. You know what I'm saying? Me humming into the phone. Yeah, whatever you got to do to make it happen. Only problem is sometimes I hum in fucking G flat or some shit like that, and I'm like, I'm in drop C. It's not helping me at all. You know?
And then you adjust it, but it's working for you. It's working for you, so it's a cool process.
Whatever
man.
I do, whatever I can do, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes with lyrics hit me while I'm driving.
Yeah,
I drive in silence a lot. You know, and people think it's fucking weird, like I'm a serial killer. Like I don't like to listen to music in the car. But what happens is that, you know, I'll pull over and I'll
it's very
write.
therapeutic what you're doing, though. I do that too sometimes. It really formulate thoughts and all that kind of stuff. I'm with you.
I learned during COVID, I like really learned to kind of deal with a lot of my trauma, my childhood trauma. So like in doing that, I sort of like realize when I'm going through these spouts with depression and stuff like that, or like, you know, like a feeling of mania or whatever, I learned like, oh my God, why do I feel like this? And then I'll write. And then sometimes I often read back my lyrics and I don't think I realize what I was writing about in the moment. And I'll listen back to a song later on and go, holy shit, I was really going through it. You know, and it's kind of like, it's sort of an out of body experience sometimes with lyric writing. And it's very crazy. You know, with riffs, I like to have somebody in the room because you write a riff and you can see if it like pops the room. You know, you can see like if somebody's like, oh shit, then I'm like, oh, I got him. You know what I mean? And I know the room will react to it too. So I like to write like that. But yeah, that's how a lot of my stuff comes, man. And I know when I can't write a riff that it's not because my riffs are gone. It's just because it's not time for me to be creative. It's time for me to be a sponge. It's time for me to take in. You know, there's a time to take it in and then a time to let it out.
That's a good point, you know, because, you know, and I even going through that sometimes in my band. Sometimes it's like back in the day, it's you get caught and you just decide to keep going. You're completely right for anybody hearing this. It's like just put it down, walk away, and, you know, come back when you're feeling it again. And obviously that's what you've been doing and continue to do.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not writing something that you're inspired to write, then there's a certain level of authenticity that you're not projecting, or I don't know what the word is, but you're not giving it to people. Like, you know, so much of Bayway, I think people, you know, it's funny and it's tongue in cheek and at times satirical and, you know, all of that. But like, there's a very serious tone to Bayway. And like, it's therapeutic in a lot of ways. And, you know, I'm big on the authenticity. I don't want to do it if it's not real. If it's not me, if it doesn't feel like it's me, I won't do it. I don't care. You know,
that's why, you know, it resonates with people. Well, that's why it's resonating with people. Because honestly, people know that when you're being authentic, and you guys, you know, you clearly are. So I want to ask you now. So you're writing material. When do you get the you know, every album's different. Or not really, actually. Album track list, like how you set that album track list, right? So you were talking about how you had some songs written, then you wrote some other songs for the recipe. When you're writing these songs, like in your mind, you're like, this is the opener, you know, like Wounds Like Mine, we're ending. This is a perfect, you know, song to end the album with, even if others aren't done yet, hypothetically speaking. Sure. Or is it after you record it, you hear it, you're like, okay, let's set up that album track list? Or that's something that's kind of in the back of your mind as you guys are writing?
So I'm horrible at track listings, right? Because this is why I'm bad. I hate the music I write. All right. I'm not like a fan of what I do. I'm a very self-deprecating person. Like I have probably the worst case of imposter syndrome that there is. You know, I'm a musician through and through. I hate what I do. If somebody tells me that they think what I do is good, I think they're making fun of me. You know what I'm saying? I'm like I'm being very open and honest right now, but that's really what it is. It's a very raw experience to present somebody with something that you care so much about, and then to be in a band and be like, you know what, this is the first one. And it puts a lot of pressure on it, right? So I've learned that sometimes it's good to not have that pressure. So what I did with this record, because this is the second time we're doing a full length, what I did with this record was I said to Josh, what do you think the track listing should be? And Josh went away for about 2 weeks and he said, I'll get back to you on it. And he listened to it all the time. And he hit me with 5 different track listings, no joke. We would text all the time about it. I think this one's going to be this. I think that's going to be that. I think this one should be here. And finally, he hit me with the final track listing, and it's what wound up on the record. I didn't argue with him. I didn't ask him why. None of that. All I said was, please give me the track listing. You've been a curator of music for a long time that I love. I trust you. Let's do it. It's a collaborative effort. I wanted him to do it. It felt great to not have it in my hands.
Nice.
I never envisioned Malocchio as the record opener, ever.
That was my next question. Yeah, I was like, okay.
Never envisioned it as the record's opener. I wrote Malocchio. There's like 20 different versions of Malocchio that I've written over the years. I think this is the best version by far. Dave's version of Malocchio, what he was able to do with the drums just really brought the song to life. It was much more upbeat. It just, it really did everything I wanted it to do. But, you know, having Malocchio as the opener is it's fucking awesome. Sets the tone for the whole record. But when I wrote it, I didn't see it as an opener. I thought it was a badass song. I was pumped on it, but I never saw it as an opener. You know,
you can't hear it any other way, almost. Are you at
no,
that?
now we've opened sets with it. You know what I mean? Because it's so strong as a first song.
It is.
It really is. It gets people moving right away.
And that's my next question. So it's how you guys structure your set list, you know, because you actually, you know, you've been around 2022, but you have a lot of stuff out. You really do. And now it's a new full length, like anything, I would assume you're excited to get out there and play it. Right. So, but you have other songs that you need to play. So how do you go about structuring your set list? Now I know like certain times you guys play at festivals. There's a certain time, a set, you know, you have a certain set time for that. Then there's other set times you have that are a little longer. So how do you go about structuring your set list in like those situations? Now, specifically after the album, you know?
Okay, so after the album, this is a great question too, and it's something that we've been dealing with a lot lately. You know, I go back and forth on this a lot. There's a fine line between playing too much of your new material and then not giving anybody the old stuff, right? Like I hate when bands do that and they forget about their old material, right? But then again, there's like this whole different thought process of like, you know, there's some like people that are into Bayway that like, they don't know anything else other than the recipe. We've released so much music at such a fast pace that, you know, what songs do they want to hear? You know, we don't know, right? Like, and we've been playing a set list that's been pretty similar for a long time. And so you start to go through it. Okay, we got to do one off the classic record, right? And then Bayway is sitting there at the top of the Spotify list. So it's like, you got to play that, right? Bayway's become, we got to play Bayway, right? So we close with Bayway because it's funny to close with. And it's just, people love it, right? People fucking, it's a fun song to play. So you got to play Bayway. Currency has become one of our better songs in our set. It's become a better performing song. People really love it. They know the words. The video that we did, I think really drove it home, you know what I mean, as a song. And people just really fuck with it. So it's like, you got to have that, right? It's a Cold World for me is a very personal song. And it gets a message out to people who struggle with addiction that I feel is necessary for the younger kids that I see come to our shows. And I wrote it because I felt I had to write a song to really let people in to understanding my own struggles that I was going with, but also because I saw the young kids coming to these shows and I don't want them to wind up the way that I did. I don't want them to have to struggle through the shit that I struggled with that I thought at one time was so cool. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, there's no fucking glamour in this shit, man. It ruins your life. It fucks you up. So I just really wanted that to be a part of the set, and it wound up catching on, and people really fucked with the song, you know, which was awesome. And now the whole beginning of the song, we don't even have, it's all a cappella and people sing along to it. It's crazy what it's become. You know, so you have to do a mix of old and new. So what we decided was we wanted to do 4 songs off the new record and 3 songs off of the older stuff. So
Okay.
that's kind of the way we did it. That was the balance. And Poverty Mindset, it's funny because the lyrics of Poverty Mindset are, I guess it's true, poverty is currency. And then Scott Vogel comes in and the rest of Terror comes in. I'm not going to perform Terror's parts live because that just doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? So when I say, I guess it's true, poverty is currency, immediately we start playing currency. So we've sort of turned that into a medley, which to me, I loved when bands did when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I thought, what a cool thing to do to bring something like that back. So that's what we're doing now. So we're playing Malocchio, Streets is Talking, Poverty Mindset, and They Never Learn off of the new record. And then we're playing Bayway, It's a Cold World, and Currency off of the older stuff.
Sounds like, so that's what, West Coast people will be hearing up, they'll be hearing it already when this comes out, but what you plan on doing moving forward.
Yeah, as far as the Madball run, it'll probably have another new song in it. I think we have a little bit of a longer set time, so we might be able to squeeze some.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask selfishly, because I'll be with you, playing with you guys that
yeah,
night.
100%.
Actually, you said something about, I have 2 more questions about setlist, because I find it's so fascinating, especially when a band gets, like you guys now have a big catalog, you can't play everything, right? So you said something right before you started the set list. And I was going to ask you this, and you actually mentioned it. Do you look at streams? Does that play a factor? Like, you're going out West Coast, you're like, oh shit, wow, like Eulogy's really playing out in, I don't know, San Diego. People are loving it out there. Like, would you switch something by that, or do you go more based on feel of what, like, okay, we're going to run with these songs? I guess kind of like what you described before,
So if I got a 20-minute set at a fest, you can bet your ass you're going to see the top 7 of the Spotify.
The anthems. Yeah.
Right. What's the difference? That's what people know.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that are going to get into it's really a showcase, a fest. It's not even a show. You're not really playing a set. You got fucking 15 minutes to win over a large amount of people that are there to see whoever the fuck's headlining. You know what I'm saying? And so you got to do whatever your most popular shit is, and you can't really jump off the beaten path. And if you do, what happens is people don't know it. And why would you go against what works?
Right.
What, to be different? You know what I mean? I don't see the point, right? It's like, I got 20 minutes. I'm going to do Stretching the Truth, which I never do in my other sets. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to do the songs that people know, right? And then, when you get into a New Jersey headliner, okay, like if we have between 45 minutes and an hour to play, I'll start breaking out shit. We'll play a fucking medley off the demo. Like we'll play the whole demo in a medley. In a 5-minute medley, we'll play you the first record. All the highlights. Because you can. You got the time. And you also have the listenership. Like, these are people that have been with us since day one. They want to hear this shit. This is the shit that they fuck with. This is, and you want to show that you appreciate them being there for as long as they've been there, and you want to play that stuff for them.
Yeah.
Like if I go see Biohazard and they don't play Punishment, I'm going to get upset.
Yeah.
Like I want to see that shit.
Yeah.
Now for me, like a real, like really deep into Biohazard guy, like I want to go up there and sing Lost with Evan. I want to cry. You know what I'm saying? But like, that's me. But so you gotta kind of cater to what you got. Like if you got 30 minutes and you're gonna be like, I imagine Biohazard's gonna be sort of a newer crowd for us. Some of the people will have heard us, but some of the people won't. Right? So you gotta sort of play like the hope is to get out of Biohazard, have them go to your Spotify, and then listen to the song that you played.
Yeah. I think that's a great tour for you guys. I do.
Listen, I when they first batted around the idea, it was like, is there a better tour? Like, is there something more catered to Bayway specifically? I don't know. And so when it finally came through and we confirmed it, it was I mean, it's huge for a band that literally wasn't planning on touring to a band that now has management and a booking agent, a record label, and is going on tour with Biohazard. Dude, what do you say? You know what I mean? Like, it still doesn't feel real. It's very surreal.
It's awesome. It's amazing. One other thing though, with the set list, are there songs you wish you played more? That it's just
Yes.
like you said, you just can't. Like they're just songs like, and then you're like, just it's not going to make the cut based on the time slot that we have and where we're playing and all that kind of stuff.
A lot of people used to ask me to play More Than Blood, which came off of our Word Is Bond EP.
Mhm.
And the song was about it was about my friendship with the people that I had met when I returned back to the New Jersey hardcore scene, and how I felt about a lot of the newer friendships and the stuff that I was forging at the time. And people really liked it. It had a lot of sing-along parts. I don't think we ever played it live. And I really regret not playing it. And that's why we play 4 songs off the new record. I wish we would have played Hurt Feelings more, off of the Bayway Takes Manhattan record. I wish we would have played these songs more. I think people would have really fucked with it in a live setting. And I wish we would have taken more risks in terms of, stepping out of the other material that we knew worked,
Mm.
and bringing some of these songs to the table, and not necessarily being unafraid to see, like, because we had played it a couple times in Jersey and went over great, but it's like we didn't do enough touring on those records to have played those songs enough.
Okay.
We were releasing so much material and we weren't touring to back up the material that we were releasing. So we weren't getting the time to really try this stuff out. So we don't even know what would have worked and what wouldn't have worked,
Now, have you guys, I'm sure you have, like if you played, has there ever been a time where you threw an audible where you're like, yeah, maybe we won't play this, we'll play this other song. And you may not have rehearsed on it, but like, are these songs you're ready to go with them if you have to go,
We always have an audible.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We always got, like, Stretching the Truth is a song that we all know how to play.
Mm.
And the reason we all know how to play it is because sometimes at the end of the set, when we're done, people ask specifically for it and will get mad at us if we don't do it. And how can you turn them down?
Right.
I look at it as, listen, people really fuck with what we're doing. They love the song, whatever. If they're gonna cheer for me to play a fucking song, I'm gonna play the fucking song. I'm gonna give them what the fuck they want to do, like what they want us to do. And so that's one song that we always kind of have.
Cool.
I guess on the back burner. It's not a song that we play as often as we used to. But we always kind of have it sitting there in the holster if we need it.
Awesome. Will it make light of day in the Madball, the little Madball run? Is that a plan?
Yeah, well,
you're not even there yet.
The Madball run, we have a set list we have an A and B set.
Oh, cool.
And it's, we're gonna run both of them just to kind of see. We're gonna see what works, and we've kind of committed to the new idea of, like, we're gonna play more of the new stuff because we don't want to let it go to waste, like we kind of did with some of the other songs,
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna do that. And so yeah, for Madball we have an A and B, and we'll see what works and what doesn't.
No, that'd be great. That's gonna be great. So, question with we'll jump back into Bayway in a sec. I guess Shattered Realm a little. We did talk about it. What does it look like? Like, because you obviously got Bayway till the end of the year here, it looks like, right? So, but you're always writing, you're always doing things. What's the studio looking like because they're with the new record, and the plan on is Shattered Realm something where you're going to tour, or you just do big weekends, long weeks? Like, how do you foresee Shattered Realm moving forward?
There's a lot, I had an opinion of what I thought Shattered Realm was. And then we started to get into playing some more shows. Mm. And what I learned is that I really love bringing this old material to the young kids that have never been able to see it or hear it. And that part is super fulfilling. But as we started to play shows, we started to find out that people really fucked with the new EP.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of fucking gas in the tank for Shattered Realm. And, it's not going to be just a legacy band. It's a band that's going to continue to write music and continue to tour and continue to do the things that Shattered Realm has always done. And it's important, and there's talks of Shattered Realm tours in Europe right now. We're having conversations about that. We're already looking at next year in terms of what we're going to do with Shattered Realm and when we're going to release the next record. And the next record's done.
Wow.
So Joe has to sing over it. Dave's got to commit his drums to it, but it's in the DAW, brother. It's recorded. It's there. Awesome. The ideas are live, man. They're ready to go. It sounds a lot like the material you've already heard. It's heavy as shit, and I can't wait for Joe to sing over it. I think he was done a massive disservice when they recorded that second record, and I think that what people heard from him on this last EP scratches the surface barely of what he's capable of doing.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to bring that to the forefront and let people really see what that dude can do.
Yeah, that EP was great. That came out December or so last year. That was a good one. It was almost like setting the table. It was like wanting more kind of thing, which is exciting to hear that there is more coming. So
there's a lot more coming, and if you liked that, you're gonna love what comes next.
Yeah.
So Shattered Realm's got this California run coming up.
Cool.
We have a festival that we're playing, Banging in the Rock, which is I think in Arkansas, and then there's probably going to be another thing or two that pops up before the end of the year. And then we're going to get busy in the next year for sure.
That's exciting. That's great.
Yeah, a lot of European stuff in talks, and definitely we want to do a couple different runs in the U.S. and this California run just kind of starts that,
Cool. Yeah. So you're going to run with it, right? Like wherever those opportunities go, run with it.
Absolutely.
Why not? Yeah.
Listen, Bayway's got a full U.S. with Biohazard. We got 14 dates that are unannounced in November that we're going to be on another big tour. We're going to Europe in December. But how many times can you do a full US tour? Right? So it's like, I don't intend on stopping, so if Bayway does a full US tour again, say January, that leaves a lot of open ground in February and March for Shattered Realm.
That's a good question too. It's like in general with Bayway Shattered Realm. Well, let's talk Bayway here, right, for a sec. So it's like you have Madball, it's a 5-day run from what I recall.
Yep.
You got Biohazard, you have something else coming up, popping up soon too. So offers are coming. You have your new album, right? It's probably, how do you decide it's like because you're right. It's like, you can't keep hitting the same spots over and over and over again. You don't want to overdo it, but at the same time, there's timing for these opportunities. When is that where you're like, okay, let's just do it? Or it's like, we can't do it. It must be difficult. In a good way. It's like a good difficult. So
problems nonetheless. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think for us, it's fairly new territory because before I was doing all the booking for the band. And we had gotten pretty busy under me booking the band. And then we wound up going with management and a booking agent. And now the opportunities that are coming are obviously bigger. You know what I mean? And there's more length to the opportunities, right? And then, but the cool part is that working with management and a booking agent, it's like we get on a phone call and it's like, hey, this is what we got planned for May of 26. And it's like, well, shit. Okay. Well, now I know what my plans are for May of fucking 26. You know what I'm saying? So I got those plans, right? So then I got that going. And then you start to think, okay, and then we're thinking about doing this in January. And then this is what your summer is going to look like. So they've booked this stuff really far out. So you start to understand what the opportunities are going to look like. And as stuff comes in, certain stuff you have to take, right? Like early on in our career, for Bayway, Aunt Money texted me and he says, hey man, E-Town's going out on tour next week to California. We need another band.
Not last year?
Yes, before I even texted anybody else in the band.
Yeah.
As it turned out, our bass player couldn't go. So I had to find another one, but we went,
You made it work.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do, and that's how it goes sometimes. Sometimes it's at the drop of a fucking hat. And sometimes you can plan for it. But in terms of, you don't want to oversaturate markets. You don't want to do things too many times. And you also, it's like, there's some markets where, these guys are good, man. These guys, I'm in meetings with guys that are responsible for fucking Drain and Slayer and
Mhm.
Biohazard and Tsunami. And, it's like, they know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah.
So it's really becomes a part where you kind of have to, like, for me, as a control freak and as somebody who had so much to do with every aspect of the band, I really had to let go and understand, like, hey, we're in these guys' hands and we trust them. And this is something that we all agree is a good idea. And we got to let them make these decisions for us and see what happens.
Right. Enjoy the ride. Right. So it sounds like there's a lot coming in the next year. Uh,
It's
so
crazy,
it's
man. I
like,
mean, I will be on tour perpetually, essentially perpetually from next week until the better part of. Essentially, I'll be home for Thanksgiving, and then I will leave and go to Europe, and then I'll come home for Christmas. And those are the times I plan on being home. The rest of it, I'm going to be on the road.
yeah. Wow. Wow. That's exciting. It's fun. It's probably could be a little exhausting, but you've been on the road a lot now where, you know how to go to that day to day kind of, I guess, handling and, doing it, right. It's like you travel to one place, and you know what you're doing now out there.
Yeah, it's grueling, but there's nothing like it on Earth. There's just nothing like it. I haven't found anything like it on Earth. And, I wouldn't do it if it wasn't helping the band. I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't do it if it wasn't worth it.
Mhm.
But I have a very supportive wife. I have a very supportive daughter. And I'm very blessed in that regard to have this support system that, really loves what I'm doing and fucks with it, and wants me to go do it and achieve it.
No, that's awesome, man. You could tell you love it. And that's one of the things I wanted to ask you here is like to end with here is like, how do you balance all of it? And because you have the bands, you have the hip hop, you have the label, you have the studio, you have a lot of different stuff. Like even when, like talking to Joe Hardcore, he was saying all the different things that you're involved in. He was telling me it's pretty amazing. And you're super humble, positive, but you love what you're doing. And maybe that's how you balance it. I think I just answered a few. I apologize, but how do you balance all of it? Because loving it, you could love it though, but there's a lot of different stuff. It just seems like you operate well when there's a lot on your plate. Just from just our conversation that we're having here.
I don't like to sit still. I don't like to sit with my own thoughts. It's not my favorite thing to do. Um, so I like being busy. I feel like I'm better when I'm busy. And it becomes a thing where you sort of have to map out the time, right? Like you
Mm,
have to say, okay, 4 hours of my day is going to consist of my actual job, and I'm going to put 4 hours of my absolute energy and timing into this. And then for 2 hours, I'm going to mix. And then for an hour, I'm going to play guitar, and then I'm going to leave. I'm going to drop my daughter off at gymnastics. I'm going to make her dinner. I'm going to pick her up for gymnastics. We're going to
mm,
have really, important conversations about what's going on in her life. And I'm going to stay in tune with her as her dad. And I'm going to make her dinner. We're going to eat it together. We're going to have that family time, and then after that, I'm going to focus on making some merch, and I'm going to focus on what the band can do to get better, and my wife is heavily involved in the marketing of Bayway and stuff like that. So we spend a lot of time together doing that. So, uh, I kind of have, I don't think I intended on it, but I kind of have figured out a way to just sort of, this is just my life. It's all sort of entangled together. And I don't really know how I make it work. I just sort of fucking do.
you do it. Yeah, you do it.
Yeah, like I wish I could tell anybody like what the secret to being able to do this is or whatever, but I honestly just bite off more than I can chew and then somehow figure out how to make it happen.
Yeah, you're doing it, man. It's awesome. It really is. Like there's all these
I
different things.
appreciate it, man. I really do. And I do love it. I do love it. And I do cherish, I cherish the working with each individual band and their creative ideas when we're in the studio, and all of that stuff is just fucking awesome. I just love that. I love seeing other people's perspective on music. And when I record, I'm not recording. I look at recording in the studio almost like taking a picture. I'm
Mm.
capturing a moment in time. I'm not
Good way to look at it.
recording a band and looking for something. I'm looking to capture a moment in time. And sometimes the moment that I capture is fucking awesome. And sometimes it's not. And that just is what it is.
Yeah, it's a great way to look at it, man, for sure. So what now I just have a bunch of questions.
Sure.
First thing that comes to mind, you want to elaborate, you can. A couple of them, you're going to definitely be like, oh man, why are you doing this to me? And that's the point. And you'll see, I'll have you picking between some of your favorite albums. So let's start with this. This might be pretty simple. Now, this answer could change if this discussion was in December. But what is your favorite tour you've ever been on?
My favorite tour I've ever been on, as of today, I will say my favorite tour I've ever been on was the Shattered Realm Bayway thing that we just did in the UK. Um, the thing about it is, man, touring is special, and there's always a lot of tours that are really cool. The E-Town tour comes to mind. The tour that we did, the Tie Down, comes to mind. But this UK tour, you know, just getting the time in with Joe and spending the time going through the countryside and hanging with the UK guys and getting to see London the last day and just the whole idea that saying the word motherfucker brought me to another country was just a lot to take in, dude. And it was just, when I look back on it, it was just, I got a lot of fond memories of it. And we recorded that really crazy video with Big Ben, and like we recorded it in the middle of the street, and there was cars on either side of me. Everybody's beeping, they're all mad at us and shit. And there was just so many fun things that occurred during it. And it was just like really good tour.
Cool. A band, I guess a band that you're like, wow, like it doesn't have to be a tour, but like a band you played with that you were like, wow, holy shit.
That just blew me out of the
Yeah,
fucking
they're
water.
like, wow, we actually shared a stage with this band.
I gotta be honest with you. There's a lot of bands that I will always say I think E-Town is probably the best band. Just live, they're so good. They're so true to what the record sounds like. But we have played a couple times now with Haywire, and I'm going to be completely honest with you. There is a certain level of energy that Austin Haywire, I'm not exactly sure how he's able to do it night in and night out, but they just really, they're like Terror in a way where it's always consistent. It's always electric, and I just, when we played with them, it was us and them at Preserving in Pittsburgh. Us, them, Tsunami, Peeling Flesh, Pain of Truth. And we played right before Haywire. And I'm like, what the fuck? We got to play before fucking Haywire. Jesus Christ. We held our own. I'll say that, and then Haywire went up there and slapped the shit out of everybody. And it's just like the energy of that moment. I remember thinking like, man, fucking these guys, like respect to them. To do it for as long as they're doing it and at the energy level that they're doing it, just got a lot of respect for the way they do it.
I agree. They got great, crazy energy. They do when they get on.
Insane, man. Absolutely insane.
This band has come up a lot. So what's your favorite E-Town record?
My favorite E-Town record. That's hard. Everybody that is cool and hardcore will tell you the Red Demo. Every older guy that has a set of balls will tell you it's the Renaissance. But for me, it's Time to Shine. And I really love Second Coming as well. I really do. I think Second Coming is a great record, although I think the songwriting threw a lot of people for a loop in terms of, I think some of it was a little too out there. Maybe too long, the songs as well. But Time to Shine for me was the record that my sister gave me. It's a flagship record for any kid from Elizabeth who likes hardcore. And, it's just start to finish, man. What a record. What a record. It has so many good things to it. It's insane.
Great record. So you're going to be going off with this band for 5 days. Set it off or demonstrating my style?
Jesus Christ.
They're both classics, right? So
I'll go with Set It Off. I'll go with Set It Off.
yeah,
I'll go with Set It Off.
here's another one here: Urban Discipline or State of the World Address.
Urban Discipline, hands
Oh,
down.
that's cool.
Yep, hands down. That record, if you put that record on, it was hilarious. Danny Biohazard came out to see us play. Forget where it was. It was at House of Independence, right?
Mhm.
So he's standing there in the backstage area, and I introduced him to our drummer. Goes, dude, I've been ripping you off for years. He's like, just keep it going, brother. Just keep it alive, baby. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, so much of that record, man, was so raw, it was so bouncy, it was so perfect. Yeah, that's the record for me.
Oh, this one. So you've been to a lot of other scenes. What's your favorite scene outside of New Jersey? And you could have a couple.
It's a hard question.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of playing shows with Bayway, or in terms of just the scene in general?
I guess playing shows with Bayway.
Okay, so the first time I ever played a show where I felt like, I remember being on stage where I said, you know what, Bayway might be a thing. We played in San Diego at Shea Cafe. Ton of young kids. They knew every fucking word to every Bayway song. That was crazy. Oakland was also crazy. California, just in general, to me, Southern California, Northern California, the Bay, it's just good, man. It's good. They got a really cool scene out there. A lot of fucking kids, and it's just really, really fucking cool. And whenever we are going out to the West Coast, I know that we're about to have a great time. And I can eat Mexican food for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I prefer to be there.
Well, awesome. So you may have answered this actually as we're talking, but your top, I guess, 3 most influential albums for you, and it doesn't have to be just hardcore.
Top 3 most influential records for me. Obviously, E-Town's Time to Shine.
Mm-hmm.
Probably it's that DMX record, man. That was fucking huge for me, like 6th grade. DMX and Mace were like my shit at that time.
Mm-hmm.
DMX, Mace, Big L, Big L's, man. Lifestyles of the yeah. That I listen to that record so much, it's absurd.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably Downset, the self-titled record.
That's a good one.
Yeah, was huge for me. Was just massive for me. You know, Slipknot's self-titled record was big for me too. It was just really big. And Naughty by Nature, honestly, was like really big for me. DOS Effect's big for me. I know it's a top 3. It's hard though for top.
It's hard. You always have to have more, right?
It's hard, man. I got so much.
So vinyl or digital?
For me, it's vinyl.
Vinyl.
Yeah, for me, it's vinyl. I love the ability to play whatever the fuck I want in my car, but when I go home and I'm cooking, put vinyl record on.
Well, vinyl all the time. Cool.
Yeah, I love that. Yep.
Couple more. A band or artist you like that may surprise people?
Wallflowers.
They're good. Yeah, that's a good. Yeah.
Fantastic record.
Mm-hmm.
That first record with One Headlight, fucking 6th Avenue, A Heartache, 3 Marlenas. Probably my most listened to record. Probably my most listened to record, but maybe of all time. You know?
Oh, okay.
Maybe of all time.
Last one here about new bands that you like.
New bands that I like. Jersey bands that I like coming up. Negative Force, Heavy Hands. I really like XL Bully. New bands that I like that I've seen like playing. I mean, obviously, I think the talent that's going on with Haywire is sort of, you know, just insane to see what they did. It's not even my style of music, but it's just, yeah, how could you not appreciate it?
Mm-hmm.
I like Risk. That band is really, really cool. I find myself listening to that. You know, there's a couple of of newer, I guess, like beatdown bands, I don't listen to them like enough to say that, like, like to fucking co-sign them. I really liked Out of Pocket. Always liked Out of Pocket. Like since
Yeah.
I've
We play with them with E-Town. They were really, really good in California.
yeah,
They were good,
they're
good,
just
cool dudes too.
they got a great a great a great energy about them. But yeah, I think for me, yeah, that's what I like. I listen to Out of Pocket at the gym. I listen to, there's like on my playlist, there's like, probably Missing Link, probably like Out of Pocket. Yeah, shit like that.
Cool.
Shit like that.
Awesome.
There's probably a million new bands, but I try to check out the Jersey stuff just because, like, for me, I like being aware of like what's going on in my scene.
Of course. Yeah, it makes a complete sense, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, anything before we end off here? Anything you want to end with?
No, I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you fucking with me and having me on. And I thought the questions were great, So honestly, like, it's refreshing to get some out of the box questions, some stuff that doesn't normally get asked. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I just really appreciate it, man. Shout out to Bayway Records, shout out Trustkill Records, shout out RTF Records, Days Records. Joe Hardcore, This Is Hardcore, all that shit. New Shattered Realm's coming, new Bayway's coming, and if there's one thing that you can be sure of, it's that Bayway will be on tour near you real soon.
It's awesome, man. Jay, thank you so much. It was a great conversation. Hang tight. I'm just going to sign us off, and then we'll chat up when we get off.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the What Lies Ahead podcast, which is available on all streaming platforms. Go save the What Lies Ahead podcast playlist on Spotify that features all bands that were on the show. For more information on future episodes, you can go to my Instagram account and follow at What Lies Ahead _podcast, or on Facebook by searching What Lies Ahead. See you on the next episode.